I'm Kelly Holt and welcome to this class on writing a case study. Today I'll be covering what a case study is, why you should write one, how to prepare to write a case study, strategies for when you are writing it, and how to go about submitting your case study for publication and what you should expect during the publication process. There are several resources available to you if you want additional information about how to write a case study. One article that I like and have referred to for many years is written by Green and Johnson. That's How to Write a Case Report for Publication. Or a more recent article by Ebrel and Murakami is really focused on writing a case study for a chiropractor and looks at the use of chiropractic-specific language as well. Now let's get into this presentation. Well, case designs are reports that cover the management of a single or a series of patients. The most common case design is a case report or case study. The two terms are really used interchangeably. And these discuss the clinical management of usually one patient. They may include components such as complaints, exam findings, diagnosis, treatment, and outcomes. Essentially, case reports may be retrospective or prospective in nature. The retrospective design is the most common and is a great design for a new author. One of the problems a retrospective case report has, though, is that a chiropractor may provide the best care possible while managing the patient, but often they don't use the best outcome measures available to document changes in health outcomes, which can then detract from the credibility of the report and undermine its usefulness. With prospective case reports, the author plans the care and data collection ahead of time, and in this situation, a chiropractor may review the literature to determine the best outcome measures to assess patient progress and determine how or if a case will contribute to the literature. Measurements of the patient's health status are taken before, during, and after care and can be tracked over time. While this prospective design is likely to provide a much better final product, some authors avoid this type of case report because of the work involved in planning the case. And one potential issue with a prospective design is whether or not you're altering the care you're providing for the purpose of doing research. If this is the case, you may run into some challenges with needing to obtain ethical approval and consent from the patient before you begin. In short, if you alter the care you provide because you're doing research, you should obtain ethics approval at an early stage. However, if you've decided that the outcome measures you are using and the care plan you provide is simply the best possible care for that particular patient, and if a case report may be a byproduct of providing and documenting the care you provided, this may not be necessary. A case series is similar to a case report, but is usually based on a small group of patients, and then a single subject time series tracks a patient over time using multiple assessments while the treatment or care is applied and withdrawn. Single subject time series are not commonly encountered in the chiropractic literature because of the unknown nature of washout periods following the withdrawal of care and the extra planning and ethical requirements that are a part of this design. The Journal of Manipulative and Physiological Therapeutics describes case reports as accounts of the diagnosis and treatment of unusual, difficult, or otherwise interesting cases that may have independent educational value or may contribute to better standardization of care for a particular health problem when correlated with similar reports of others. Case reports are descriptive studies that cannot be used to establish cause and effect relationships. This is really important, and I'm going to emphasize this again and again. And this is true because due to the many inherent limitations of the case report design, which we'll cover in this presentation. So instead of providing a cause and effect relationship, what they do is they help researchers to generate hypotheses for higher level studies that are able to test the efficacy of an intervention. There are a number of other reasons why you may choose to write a case report, which I'll be focusing on in the next class. There are four main types of case reports. One is the unique case that has not been described before or has very rarely been described. Two is a case that describes a potentially new causal relationship between two or more conditions. And I emphasize here a potentially new causal relationship. Remember that you can't show causality with a single case. The third one is a case that describes an unusual presentation or pattern of a previously recognized condition. And fourth is the case that develops unexpectedly, and that could either be positive or negative. So either an adverse event or sometimes those miracle changes that we sometimes see in practice. Now, case reports are generally fairly brief, often around 1,500 words, and are not expected to contain an exhaustive literature review or an extensive reference list. They provide a low level of evidence, but are often of interest to other practitioners because they report on real-world patients, or they're of interest to researchers as they can form the basis of higher-level studies. Now, before we move on to the next section, let's take a look at some questions that look at what I've covered so far.